I can be heard. We'll see how well this works. I might, like I said, I might just switch over to the plastic putty. It's a little easier to work with. I've had this putty sitting out for a while. You know what? This isn't going to work. Change of plans here. Like this squid hat is warm. Where did I put it? There it is. We'll just use that instead. Find the brush for it. There we go. It'll be easier, quicker to work with here. I mixed up the putty about 20 minutes or so before I started streaming, so I got distracted and it started to harden up. So you have roughly an hour of working time with the putty, and this just started getting all hard and it's difficult to work with. Mr. Justin, what we should do for, I was thinking for the Nets dragon, is have you print up 2 different ones. So I can have one assembled and gap filled and primed and ready for painting, and then have one that's still unassembled, so I could show how to assemble it, how to clean it, how to assemble it, how to putty it, and then instead of sitting here waiting for the putty to dry, I can just flip out to the other one that's ready to go. What do you think? How does that work for you? Well, if I were to do the 2-part epoxy. Wild side. Living on the wild side. Put this stuff out of my way. Alright. So, I'm going to work with Vallejo's plastic putty. Comes in like a toothpaste tube, and you just squeeze it out into the area and then smooth it out with water. Takes about half an hour to dry, and then you can sand over it, so should be fine. I might work on it while I'm waiting for that. Might work on another project, but we'll see. Or as Justin says, live on the wild side, wait a few seconds, and then start painting. Wild side! Living on the wild side. We'll see if more people come in. I got more followers that came in. Very nice to see. I think tomorrow I'm going to do a afternoon stream and hope I can get some European that started following me today. They can come in and watch me. It'll be hard to see the putty because it's white on a white model here. And if I'm able to, I think I will do some airbrushing with this. If it's not too loud. So now that I'm over 50 followers, I'm able to apply for affiliate for Twitch. So I need to do some research on that and see what all needs to be done on that. Is this what the gap you were talking about right here under his head that you were trying to fill in the other day? That's not hard. That's not difficult. You made it sound like it was a big, huge gap. That's not that bad. Oh, he'll be done. Is he painted? Is your guy painted? Did you paint him up too? Are you challenging me? It hasn't showed up yet? I thought you said it was going to be, you were going to get it, it was going to arrive today in the mail. Ah, they lied. How dare they? So much easier to work with. This is so much easier to work with than putty. Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to order some more. I'm not even near finished with this, but definitely need to order some more. The only time that I would work with putty is if I had a really bad gap and just use it to fill the gap and then this over it once that was dry, or if I needed to sculpt some areas. Yeah, we're going to use the airbrush on this baby. So I'm taking it because it's called a White Guardian. It's a frost dragon. At least that's what I'm thinking of doing. At least that's what it looks like to me. Looks like a frost dragon. You're like, well, duh, Casey. Well, yeah, I know that. That's why I wanted to verify it. Smart Alec. That's what I thought, but I wanted to confirm it and make sure. Smart Alec. Please be nice to me. Don't be mean. There you go. Is the Iwata Neo, is it a regular airbrush, or the handle, is it like a regular airbrush, or is it like a gun handle, like a pistol grip? Okay. So I remember seeing something from the Iwata line, and it was like a pistol grip. So you're still waiting for your compressor? Is that what you're waiting for? Ah. Did you figure out how you're going for your spray booth? Did you get that working, or plan that out? You already got primer. Or did I convert you to the Steinler-Res? Yeah, the Steinler-Res. The good stuff. The really cool, good stuff. All the cool kids are doing it. There you go. Yeah, I need to get something like that, and I'll just attach it to the bots I have. I'll just cut a hole in it and duct tape it to the bots. That'll work. Oh, cool. You got all that extra stuff. Sweet. Let's see if I can do this without cutting myself. You got a box. That's the best. Get the bots. Thinner thins your paint. Flow improver helps the paint flow better. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but that's basically what it is. Their flow improver also has it. It's not quite a slow dry, but it does help your paint as it slows down the drying time. Not as much as slow dry, but it does do that. Roughly the same thing. Different names for the same stuff. Yeah. It's just like asking for Reynolds wrap. Reynolds wrap and aluminum foil. It's the same thing, but just different names. Reynolds wrap is the brand name. So I could just do a blue wash and I'll be done with this, right? A blue glaze and he's done. Can I get away with that? Maybe. As my son would say. Maybe. Right. For the airbrush, you can really just use the alcohol mints. It depends on which Joanne you're going to. um, and you have all that alcohol. I just use the alcohol. You don't need thinner. I got airbrush flow improver. I don't use it. I hardly use it. You don't really need it. The thinner, I don't even use that either. But I think it's 1 to 10 alcohol, isotope alcohol, and filtered. I use filtered water for mine. I'm not sure about Michael. Well, Michael's, you should be able to find some excuse me, artist stuff. Blick and even Hobby Lobby, you should be able to find some stuff because Hobby Lobby and Blick have really good airbrush areas. No, I don't think you do. A lot of the stuff you already have, so you don't really need it. To thin your paint, I know of a using a mixture with alcohol, isotope alcohol and water, but I'm not sure what the ratio is. Yeah, I don't think you need anything else. You should be good for now. I feel like I got long hair again. It was never this long, but it was pretty long. I feel like I need to braid it back or something. Alright. I'm letting this dry a bit before I do anything else. I'll let it dry, and if I need to fill in any more gaps, I will. So while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to work on this fire chick. I did finish the ice girl last night. And I finished the base. Alright, we'll do that. That way I can do that on the stream, and then just flip out for the ones that's already done, and we can paint that up. Right on! Awesome! Yeah, it's like a cooking show. And the magic of the stream, we switch out things. That's awesome. Alright, let's put the little guy in. Alright, go. Go. See you in a bit. I'll just be working on stuff here. Don't mind me. Drive safely. See you in a bit. Alright, now while he's gone and I'm waiting for that dragon to dry, I'm going to switch out, clean up some stuff over here. Clean some stuff. Things out of my way. Oh, we're going to work on this lovely lady. This is not Yvonne or some sort. I don't know her name. I forgot her name. She's another Eldar special character, and she's going to be in Flames, fire chick. So we're going to use an airbrush to bring out some of these colors. At least that's the goal. That's the idea. So we'll see how well that goes. Just cleaning some stuff here. Don't mind me. So we'll see how we can do this with my lovely squid hat. Don't want to get paint in my tea. Alright, and I got she's so unorganized. My goodness, Mr. Man. Things are too far away if I can't reach them. So, if there's anyone else watching, you get to see me do some spray paint, some airbrushing. Alright, we're getting there. Be patient, please. Alright. Ooh, this is gonna be fun. So, off to the side here, I have a box, and I cut some slats. I cut some holes into it so it can catch my overspray, and I have a window open right behind it, so it'll go right out there. I'm going to use a Masters airbrush and a Masters compressor off to the side over here. Hopefully the compressor won't be too loud on the string. It's not too loud. It does make noise. Getting all tangled here, sorry. La 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 la. The wonders of live. There we go. Can't get... This is a nice beginner airbrush. I got it with the compressor, and the link for the package should be down below. I believe it was $70 on Amazon. You get a very decent airbrush, a really good compressor, the hose, a couple little instructional booklets. But if you are interested in getting started, you don't need to spend a whole lot of money to get going, which is really nice. Just like with any technique, it takes, you know, some getting used to and learning how to work it. So that's set up. So I already primed him black, and I have primed her black, and I have some gray that I did a quick dry brush over. I'm going to use my white Steinler-Rez primer by Badger. These are awesome primers. Very nice, smooth application through the airbrush or with the brush. Just awesome. And then I'm going to build up the colors using P3 paints. So I like to use those to airbrush with. It's really nice and smooth. Alright. Get some Q-tips here. My little latex gloves, so I don't get paint on my hand. Time to get ready. And I have this little thin plastic card that I use to test the airbrush when I put paint in it. Not sure if you guys can hear that, but that's where I live. It's next to a railroad, and about this time is when the trains are going through, the freight trains. Alright, we're going to have to do a bit of reorganization here. There we go. Alright, I got my airbrush pressure about 20 psi. I have it usually between 15 and 20, depending on what I'm brushing. And it changes also depending on what color and how thin you have it, what application. So we're just going to go ahead and pour that in there. I don't need a whole lot. Let's do white on white. That's smart. That's a smart idea. Alright, what's going on here? If you have a lid for the top, always put it in there, because there's been times that I don't have that in there and I accidentally tip it too far and the paint comes out. There we go. That's pretty high for it, so I'm going to turn down my pressure here. Alright, so we want to do somewhat of a zenithal highlight here with the white. Move my stuff around so I can still see. And that's basically from the top. Because she's got flames coming off her, I want that a little bit brighter. I'm going to concentrate that more on with the white at the top areas, keeping it kind of dark near the bottom. And also on her sword, we'll add some white there. And then on her face, on her head and everything here. There we go. Reorganize. Just still working out the new setup here, so. What I like about using an airbrush for priming or base coating is I have a little more control. And I'm by no means a master of using the airbrush. It takes time. I'm still learning, just like with anything. Even painting miniatures, I'm still learning stuff. So there's just certain areas that I want a little bit brighter. And with an airbrush I can get in there and do that. So I want some areas to be brighter than others. I can get in there with the airbrush and do that. Besides primer, you can use colors too to, you know, your base coats. You can apply those very fast and in certain areas. Okay. I have my camera higher up because I usually paint like this. With the airbrush, I'm a little bit further down, so if they're not in view or in focus, I apologize because I'm out of the range of the camera here. All right, so we'll let that set for a bit. I still got some white primer in here. And we're going to go back to my dragon, the White Guardian. It's an ice dragon. It's 3D printed, made out of you know, white plastic. Duh. So for the base coat, I want it to be a little bit paler. I don't want it stark white, so I'm going to add a little bit of gray. This is also Badger Steinlerez gray to my mitts to make a very pale gray. So we'll set her over to the side. Let that dry for a bit. Shake up the primer real good. Now I'm just going to pour it right into the top. Alright, so I'm going to take an old brush, old beat up brush, and just mix that up into the pot here. You can also do where you gently cover the tip. The needle is covered by the front of here. I'm out of camera, sorry. So you can just kind of gently hold that. And that just back washes and it mixes it up. So with an airbrush, I don't want to tip this over because of the paint in here. You have your trigger, so you press down, that blows out the air, and then you gently pull back on the trigger while you're pressing it down, and that opens up the chamber for the paint to come out. So I'm going to do have a clog. And it's just a dry tip. Sometimes the paint dries on the tip of the brush here, so it happens. So I'll just get an old cup, a little medicine mixing cup, and then I have, this is 1 to 10 isotope alcohol. I believe it was 75% or something like that. Isotope alcohol with filtered water. So it's 1% isotope alcohol, and then the rest is filtered water. Oops. And as usual, I'm making a mess. And I'm just using I use that to clean the airbrush. Just cleaning the tip here. What's nice with this brush, this airbrush, is I can take that top off. As you can see, there's a clump of paint right on the edge. There we go. Alright. There we go, so we get a nice gray. And I'm just trying to paint this all over and prime it. I will turn up my pressure on it because I'm priming. Get the base too. Sorry, I'm off the camera here. Just making sure I'm getting a nice layer over the whole thing. What I like about the Steinler-Rez primers is it dries really matte. It's not shiny or anything, and it dries fast too. Whether you airbrush it or paint it on. And I could clearly paint this on, it's just quicker with the airbrush. Don't feel you need to have an airbrush to paint anything. It's just an additional tool. I haven't gotten really crazy with it. All I've really done is use it for priming and adding base coats. I started to do a few little tricks with it, but I wanted to get comfortable with doing the basic operation of it and cleaning it. I saw some little bits hanging on there, so. Like I said, that noise in the back is my compressor, so hopefully it's not too loud on the mic. It's behind me and my mic is in front of me, so it shouldn't be too loud. So when you're painting white, it's good to have a very nice base coat to work from. And just like with any color, there's different ways of painting it. At the moment, yes. Hi, Miniatures Mutated. Welcome. At the moment, I am just priming. In fact, I'm getting to the point where I could start applying highlights to it with the airbrush. And just spraying on my towel here. There's still a little bit of gray in there, but now it's spraying clear. I'm just trying to add a little bit of that cleaner. Make sure it's through okay. It's nice and clean. And if you want, I need to get another little squeeze bottle with water. I do have a little. I did have a little dropper, but I can't find it at the moment. So I'm just putting a little bit of water in here. And spray that through on my paper towel here. Just make sure that there's no paint coming through. Nice and clean, nice and clear. And dump out the excess. And that just makes sure that you don't have any of your cleaner in there. Now I'm ready to switch to a different color. It's that simple. And then when I'm done at the end of the night, done with the session, I'll do that same cleaning, but then I'll also go and take out my needle and clean that off real quick. And I can show you that later tonight. So there's still some water in there, but that's okay. All right. So he's now primed and ready for the next stage. Let's set him right there. So he's going to be icy. So we're going to start with P3 Frostbite. It's a nice pale blue-gray. See, this is why you need to have paper towels. I forgot I put some cleaner in there and I just dumped it onto my table. We'll use that one. This has got dry paint in it, so that's okay. Try not to get paint on my squid hat here. For those of you watching and wondering why I'm wearing this hat, is because I got 50 followers last night. And I mentioned to my kids, they asked me, well, what are you going to do when you get 50 followers? And they mentioned, you should wear the squid hat. So I'm wearing the squid hat for my kids. And to celebrate that I've got 50 followers. I now got 50 plus. I think at last count, I have like 57, which is awesome. Not bad for streaming about a month and a half. So thank you everyone who's been following me and listening to me ramble on about painting, showing what I do. Alright, so when you make paint for your airbrush, pour a little bit in there. I transferred all my P3 paints into dropper bottles. Makes it a little easier to handle and save storage. I use Vallejo's airbrush thinner. It's just because I have it, and I have a big bottle. Where's the big bottle? I got a big bottle of it, so I'm working through that. And then when I'm done with that, I'll probably transfer. I've heard of using, alcohol, isotope alcohol, and water, in a certain ratio, and that would to thin it. And I just haven't made that up. So there's really no quick and fast recipe of how to do this, because it depends on conditions of your painting area. My painting area here could be different of your painting area. It could be hotter, it could be colder, you know, whatnot. So I like to use these little medicine containers. And so as I'm thinning it, I pull up the paint to the side, and if I can see the writing through it of where I just applied the paint, it's thin enough. Also, another tip is get some paint on your brush that you're mixing with and push it through. You can see that. If you can see the bristles of your brush coming through the paint, then it's the right consistency. And I think I need some more paint on here for this big dragon. So it's a little bit back and forth. Some people say you need the consistency of skim milk. Well, that can also, you know, that's not really a good way of describing it either, because people can have different consistency of skim milk in different areas. So you want it thin. But not too thin, thick but not too thick type of thing. But I found the best way is when you pull it up on the side of your cup. If it flows back down really nice and smooth, it's very good consistency. And that other test where you push your brush on the side of the cap and you can see the bristles through it, it works just fine. Some people, they will just go ahead and mix it into the top here. I kind of go back and forth. When like I said, I just started to get really comfortable with airbrushing to explain it and show people how to do it. I will show them how to do it this way, and then once you're comfortable of how the paint will work for you, then you can, feel free to do it that way. Whatever works best for you, really. It's your hobby, you can do it your way. I'm just a guy. This is what helps. This is what works for me. Alright, so I got my paint. And also, if you, once you put it in your hopper, you can swish it around in the hopper there, and if it flows back down really nice and smooth, then that's a good layer, good consistency. I'm always testing it on these little plastic cards. If you have old business cards, it's got that nice glossy finish, so it works well too. Don't use paper, because the paper will soak up the paint, so it's hard to see. So whenever you change out your colors, always do a test spray off to the side, because you might still have some liquid, like the water or the cleaner in the hopper. Alright. So this, I'm applying it on the raised areas, just like you're painting, and I want to keep that gray somewhat in the shadows. So I'm applying it more heavily near the front more prominent areas on the top, like a zenithal highlight. This is, like I said, this is a nice overall airbrush. They have other ones that have different size needles for more finer detail. This I think is a 0.0, 0.5 or something like that. I don't know. I haven't got that far into it, so. I also have a Badger Patriot 105 airbrush, that I won in a painting contest that I've used that I like too. Because we got snow drifts here on the base, I'm just hitting some of the raised areas on that. I'm spraying it to the side because I have my computer right in front of me, and I don't want, I mean, it might be getting some overspray, but I can easily clean that off the monitor there. But to the side, to my left, I have a box that's got some holes in it, and it's pointed towards an open window, and it's being blown out that way. It's not that cold yet here in Minnesota, so I can have the window open. Another reason why I like using the P3 paints, because of the liquid pigment, you can thin it down really well, and it keeps the paint, it doesn't break up as easily as some other paints do. I know Games Workshop Citadel paints, if you thin it down too much, it just starts to break down, and it's terrible to work. It's hard to work with when it's that thin. At least in my opinion. This is all my opinion, how I've worked with stuff. Alright, so now I got some blue, icy blue color on this guy, or cow. So I'm just hitting the more raised areas, keeping that gray in the recesses as best as possible. Hopefully this, you can see it well. It's kind of hard to see when you're working with white. Alright, so we're done with that color. Let's see how much more I have in here. I have a little bit in there still. So I'm going to add white to it to start highlighting. And I'm going to use P3's Morrow White, which is a pure white. I'm going to add a little bit more thinner to it, or the airbrush thinner, because sometimes with white, no matter what paint brand, can get chalky. But we'll see. We'll test it out first. So I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to pour it. Blob there. Pour some in there. thinner. This, I want to change this to a smaller dropper so I have more control, because this top here, it tends to run. You may want like 1 or 2 drops. It's like more comes out. It is the almighty Squid Hat, Griever. I reached 50 followers last night, and my kids said I should wear, when I reach 50 followers, I should wear the Squid Hat on my next stream. So that is why I'm wearing it tonight. Thank you. My daughter got it at Valley Fair over the summer. So when I picked her up, she was wearing the hat. And I'm like, that is awesome. I need to wear that for a stream. And they said, yeah, when you get 50 followers, you should wear it, Dad. So that's why I'm wearing it. So you came in time to see me do some airbrushing. I'm working on the White Guardian dragon from the Lost Dragons kit starter. This is a 3D print. Very, very fun model. And of course you also with I've found with lighter colors like the pale blues and the whites and the creams, they tend to dry a little bit faster, and you get I got a clog. Yay! Alright. Let's try to clean this up. I've noticed with the paler colors, the lighter colors, they tend to clog up sometimes. But it could also be the airbrush. It's a good, decent brush. It's great to learn on, especially for issues like that, and learning how to clean it up, problem solve it. There we go. And all I did is I just took a Q-tip, put it in my cleaner, and just cleaned out the tip part. Alright, so now we're going to use this highlight, and we're going to concentrate it more on the top and the upper portions of the model. Same as with a regular brush. Like I said, it's kind of hard to see it on the screen because he's white. When I start adding some shades to it, you'll be able to see it. So you can kind of see the transition from the bright white to the pale blue with some green, the gray underneath. And I'll reinforce that with shading. Adding some highlights on the base here for the snowdrifts. Alright. So with the airbrush I was able to get some good really quick highlights and shadows, building that up. Alright, so a little bit more concentration of highlights on there. I'm not going to go to a pure white at this moment. I want to start applying some shades. So I'm just going to pour in what excess I have into the cup here, and that'll stay wet for a while, and I can use that to touch up anything if need be. A bit of cleaning up here a bit. So that's it for the airbrush. So while that is drying, I'm going to go ahead and clean out my airbrush real quick. At the moment, no, but I am wanting to get into sculpting. 3D, not 3D sculpting on the computer, but sculpting with clay. So once I start getting comfortable with that, I think I'm going to start streaming those too. I've always wanted to paint 2D canvases. So that might be something in the future too. Alright, so I'm just using my cleaning solution here to flush out the paint. I just fill it up and clean that out real quick with the Q-tip. I used to draw 2D, but I haven't done that in a while. I enjoyed painting far more. I did pretty good drawing. I was drawing like comic books and figure drawing, superheroes and things like that. And I really enjoyed that, but I got to a point where it's like, got frustrated with it because I don't know, I just came to a wall and I couldn't get past it. I got to a point where it was like, I'm not good enough. So I stopped doing it, which is not good when you're trying to paint. When you're creating, you can be your own worst critic. So what I was doing is I was just adding some more cleaner and spraying it into a paper towel and then just cleaning the tip. So when you press down on the trigger that lets air out, and then when you pull back on it while you're pressing down the trigger, that retracts the needle, so the paint comes out, and paint dries up on the tip here, so you just want to make sure you get that clean. So you just put your paper towel in there and just do one full turn. That way it gets all the excess down there. We're going to add some water just to help flush it out. Not so much a video gamer. I do play tabletop games and board games, things like that. I do play video games, but not to the point where I want to stream them. So. Alright, so I just flushed it out with the water. Very cool. I hear Fallout is the new goodness. Everyone's playing that. My kids like to watch YouTube streams of people playing games too, so. So that little protector at the tip of the airbrush, I'm just cleaning that out real quick. Yeah. Sometimes here you get a lot of dried paint. You just clean it with alcohol. Real easy. Once I learned how to properly clean and problem solve any issues I had and change out the paint, you know, thin it, the airbrush has been really fun to play around with, applying the colors and things like that. Definitely speeds up the process. Alright. So now, I'll go ahead and turn off my compressor and undo my airbrush from it. I'll remove the back casing cover here. And this little nut holds the needle in. So you just loosen that. And I do this at the end of each airbrush session. Thank you. And I just gently pull out the needle. You want to be very careful because these can bend, and you can bend the tip real easy, so you gotta be careful with it. Thank you, Scud Juice. This is in celebration of me reaching 50 followers last night on my stream. So for tonight's stream, I get to wear the Mighty Squid hat. Alright, so this towel still got some cleaner on it, so I'm going from the back end to the base of the needle and pulling it up to the tip. Just being very cautious that I don't bend the needle. I don't know. I'm still learning the Twitch stuff. So now that I have 50, I'm available to do. I can, I guess, apply for affiliate. I haven't checked into it too much, so you can try, see if I, if you can subscribe to it. What the heck here? I just broke the needle. No, not the needle, the candle here. Oh, that's good. Just smart. Let's bring it. Is there not a subscription button on there? There should. That must be when I get approved for affiliate. So I definitely need to. I didn't get a chance to look into that today. I had to go do adult stuff and take care of my my car, so I didn't get much chance to work on that. I will check into that and I will let you know as soon as possible, Dreamer, because I believe that's the whole point of that. My trigger popped out, so I gotta completely take apart my airbrush here, which is not fun. It's not difficult to do, but it can be a pain. Whatever you do, don't drink your paint water. Yeah, I did it a long time ago. Not so much drinking the paint water. It's, I got a train going by. Hold on a minute. Where I live, we live near a railroad track, and it's about that time for the trains to go through. Also, well, I don't think I've ever drank the paint water because I used to have them in the coffee cups. And then I had it. Oh, hold on a minute, Mr. Dustin, and I'll talk about the setup. As I was saying with the paint cup, I used to have my paint water in a coffee cup, and I had a coffee cup literally right next to each other, and I cleaned my paintbrush in my coffee. And after I realized, and then I think I drank my coffee, so it had the paint water in it. Excuse me. So, I'll have to work on this later. I forgot how to put that together. Alright. I'll do that later. But after that, I had my paint water on one side and then my drink on the other. And and I've switched to different cups, like glass jars, for my paint water. So if I'm drinking out of tea or coffee in a coffee cup, I have that off to the side. It usually only takes once or twice of doing that, and then you remember not to do it again. My setup, Dustin, is actually quite easy. I redid. I used to have a big folding card table, and it was too wide. So now I got a small, like half that size. I have my light right in front of me. I have an arm above me with my camera, and the camera is just a Logitech webcam C920 which is down below. You can get it on Twitch. Not Twitch. We're on Twitch. You can get it on Amazon for less than $50. I think it's like $45 last I looked at it. Once I purchased that, it was great. So that's what you see here. That's this from the Logitech C920. I also have a smaller Logitech one on top of my monitor, which is this one right here. See? Right there. And that's just a smaller webcam. You don't need to have. I've seen some streams where you don't need a webcam looking at the person. In fact, for a while I wasn't going to do that, but I was talked into it. No, let them see your face. So it's not that bad. I'm doing some cleaning here. I don't have a complete setup for all my stuff. I'm in a very small area in my bedroom that I got this set up for. I think I took a picture of my setup. I don't recall. Since I switched it to this setup, I have more light and it's much easier to work with. So I'm very happy with it. And I just got this up and running. Not always at night. I paint during the day. I commission painter, and I started doing the Twitch stuff. I am working on switching out my schedule a bit. Yes, painting in natural light, if you have it as much as possible, is good. The problem I've had with that is it's not always the same natural light each day. You know, you could be slightly cloudy, could be a bit stormy, overcast. So I like to use True Light LED lights. That way, if I do paint at night, I have that light. Alright, so like I said, I'm just doing a bit of cleaning here and making a mess. But I paint all day, or as much as possible. Benefits of working from home. I get to paint all day. That's my job. I've been self-employed as a commission painter just over 2 years now. The beginning of, actually about 2 years and almost a month. It was at the end of September that I quit my full-time job and started doing this full-time. And I started doing streaming about a month and a half ago. So I'm really enjoying that. And it's just to show off things that I'm working on commission and talking about it. I do painting classes at local game stores. In fact, I'll be doing one at a local convention in a few weeks here in Minnesota at Renegade, the Renegade Open. I'll be doing some painting classes. Alright, so now he's dry, so let's get regular paints and we'll do some brush work. Get my wet palette here. add a little bit more water. Okay. So now you can see him clearer. I have my camera right here and I have it focused at this. I like to paint with my elbows braced right on top of the table and brace my hand against my palm so I can keep it steady. This way I keep my back straight and I can breathe nice and smooth. A lot of painters, they're like this with their hands here and bent over. You have a bent back. I was always doing that. I tended to do that. When I started doing streaming, I started getting a kink in my neck where I could barely move my shoulder, and it's because of trying to stay in the camera at this point. So I'm all bent over, so it really messed up with me. So then I started to paint like this, and it was so much better. Nice positioning. Also, my chair has armrests, so I can rest my elbows on it and paint like here if I wanted to. Trying to keep my back straight as possible. But I found at this position, especially with the camera, it's easier to show off in these videos. Get my brushes here. And with the Logitech webcam, you can, you don't want to have it on autofocus, because as you're sitting there, you think you're in focus, it's trying to keep changing in and out, and that's hard for people to see on the videos. So I turn off the autofocus and I set the focus to be at this point. That way the model is close enough to fill in the whole string and people can see it. Alright, enough blabbing, let's get some painting done. Alright, so I'm going to I use Formula P3 paints from Privateer Press, the makers of War Machine and Hordes. I transferred them all to dropper bottles. It's a little bit easier for storage. I don't have to deal with taking a brush and pulling it out. So I'm just setting up my colors on my palette here. This is Maro White, which is their pure white. And then using a Troll Blood base, which is a nice slate blue. And deeper shadows with some gray coat gray, which is a blue-gray color. And then darker shadows with coal black, which is a nice dark blue turquoise type color. So this is the White Guardian. He's a frost dragon. So we're going to paint him all icy. So let's see if I can do this. Let's get these tendrils out of my my way here. I almost need to pull it back like a ponytail. Alright, so I'm going to use the 2-brush blending, wet blending technique to paint in some shading. So what I'm going to do is apply some paint and then take my second brush and go in and pull the paint and blend it out. Right here is a sample what it is. So when you apply paint, you get these harsh lines. So before it dries, I'll go in with my second blending brush and come up, grab a bit of the paint, because when I apply the paint, it's like a puddle of paint, and then I'll go in with my second brush, grab the edge, and as I'm going back and forth, pulling it back to get that nice blending out. I lick the brush. It's also called spit blending, but this brush, my blending brush, I don't use it to apply any paint, so it has no paint on it. Adding the saliva to the tip of it to blend out the paint. The saliva acts as a blending agent, and it helps blending it out. The P3 paints are non-toxic, so you won't get sick from it if you ingest it. You might ingest a very, very, very tiny bit, but I always make sure that I'm keeping it clean. That's why on my I have 3 jars, 3 of them. I have my paint pot that I clean my paints. That gets dirty really quick. I have a very clean water pot to make sure my blending brush is clean, or any of my brushes. And then I have another one for my metal paint. example. And I just so when I do this, I base coat with my mid-tone color, and then I'll do usually 1 to 2 shades down, and then maybe 1 or 2 highlights up. So with this, so when I do the shading, it's always 50, it's like a 50-50. And you always want to like this right here on his hind leg, or like this muscle right here. I'll do half of that in my first shade, and then once that's dry, I'll do half of that part lower down with a darker shade. And then the highlight, this part will be lighter, this portion of the half, and so I'll do half of that with my first highlight, and then half of that with a very fine highlight if needed. And if you're not sure where to do the shading, an easy way of figuring that out is holding the model up to your lamp above you, and as it shines down, just looking at it, I haven't added really any shading, but you can see where it's brighter here, and then a little bit darker down here, and then where the light in here is being blocked by the fin, you can see the shadow there. So with the light, you can see where you need to add the highlights and add the shadows, because the light reflecting off of it is showing where it is, and so you just fill in those areas. The paint by number type thing. So I just work around the model. Blending out that edge. Like so. So we already got some definition on the muscles there with that little bit of color. And then what I would do is I'll just add, just go through my shades. I may or may not do that gray coat gray. We'll see. I might just stay with the Troll Blood highlight, Troll Blood base. The names coincide with models and names of races and stuff in their games. That's why they call it that. But this slate blue right here, I'll probably do that one as my next one. And if like in the deep recesses right there, I'll add the coal black. That gray coat gray I think I might not use. Normally for something like this I probably wouldn't have attached it to the base, but his feet were separate, were part of the base, so I went ahead and just went ahead I went ahead and attached it all together. But it shouldn't be that hard to get in there. Trying to get to these hard to reach places sometimes is hard to see on the camera, so I apologize if I'm holding it like this and you can't see what I'm doing. Right here on his legs. Whoops. Don't feel that you need to use the two brush blending to paint the shadows in. You can thin it and just use thin paint. Wet palette works great for that. You just, excuse me, you can control how thin you want it to apply it. All I'm doing really with the second brush is to help smooth out those edges. It's a more advanced technique, and it does take practice to get good at it. You know, just sheer repetition. Once you get the hang of how it works, just keep practicing it. Keep, you know, any technique, just keep working on it, practicing it as much as you can. There'll be times that you get frustrated and it doesn't work. You know, if it gets to the point where you're starting to swear at the model, stop. Put it aside. Do something else that you know how to do, just to try something different. I've been working at this, I think, the last 3-4 years, maybe 5 years. Been trying to get this, and just off and on working on it here and there. And then one day it just clicked. It's like, oh, there it goes. It's working now. And since then I've been trying to do it as much as possible just to get a lot of practice in. I really like the technique and the smoothness of it. The quick way of getting shading and highlights in a short amount of time and making it look really nice. So just like with any technique, it takes time, practice, patience, perseverance. Just don't give up. Just keep working on it. It's a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If you're not having a good time, find something else to do. Words of wisdom. So I'm just adding shading down here in between the toes. Work here on the face a bit. And if you mess up and it's not quite as blended as you like, let it dry and then go back to it and try it again. The great thing about paints is you can always cover it up. Always start over. And this technique you can emphasize the muscle structure and shading and everything if it doesn't even have that added in there in the sculpture. Like right here on his neck, it didn't really have much definition in the shadow, but adding underneath the ridge right here, that really makes that pop out. And the darker shade and the more recessed of that will make that even pop more. I'm just painting this in between the scales here. Does anyone have any questions? I'm taking a break real quick. If you have any questions or comments or just want to say hi, go ahead and post those in the chat so I know you're there, and I'll get to your questions as soon as possible while I'm working on things. Usually I just get going and I forget to talk, so all right. Let's just do this. Make a good batch of that shade here. I tap my brush, my painting brush, or applicator brush. This is the applicator brush. I apply the paint. I tap it on my paper towel just to soak up any excess water. Because if you have a lot of water on your brush, once you touch the model, that will release all the water and it just goes whoosh, and just floods the area. So I always tap it, as you can see. I just drag it, really quick across the paper towel. Helps soak up that excess water. And my tendrils are starting to fall over my shoulders here. He's got these scales here on his back, and I'm just running the paint, the dark color in between them. I'll try to talk as clearly as possible with the brush in my teeth sometimes. So with the shade, you just apply it in the recesses, and I'm just pulling up the paint, just smoothing the paint up. And with that airbrush, because I did the Zenithal where I did the pre-highlight areas, and then just going in with the brush to fill in the shade. Once I'm done with that, I just need to reapply some of the base coat to touch up some areas, and then another final highlight, on certain spots to make it real pop, and then I'm done. So the airbrush really helps to get that shade and highlight build up really quick, and then you just go in with some brush work to tidy it up. Saves a lot of time. Also, I've been doing this for a while, so my speed is picked up. Try, if you want to improve painting, try to make sure that you're painting at least every day of around 15 to 20, between 15 and 30 minutes a day, even if it's just to apply some base coats. As long as you get that little bit of time in, over a period of time, you'll get stuff done. Don't paint when you're angry or upset, because that can lead, if it's a way to help relax, like playing video games or watch TV, which is for me, painting is very zen for me. I will sit down and I'll paint after having a bad day and just relax and just let the paint flow, and I feel so much better. It's a very zen thing for me. I'll get in the groove, my painting groove, and I'll sit there and I'll paint for hours, and then till my fingers are hurting, or I need to go to, it's time for bed, it's time to eat, but I'm at a happy place. So I really enjoy it, and being able to get paid for it is awesome. So let's continue on this guy. That's true. Sometimes it does feel like work when you gotta get stuff done. I do enjoy it. I do enjoy working from home, being able to spend more time with the family. So I'm just working on the wing here, the membrane, getting that smoothed out. Alright, you just put a little puddle of paint, and then come in with your second one and just pull out that, smooth out that edge. Pushing and pulling. That's what they call it. Also, when you're two brush blending, because you're pulling out the saliva out of your mouth, you get dry mouth. So always have something to drink near you. And we're back into it. So just going around the model, make sure you get all the areas. I gotta fix this. Get in my way. Almost need to tie it behind my head. People are coming in and seeing, why does this guy have a strange hat on while he's painting a dragon? What's up with that? It's definitely different. Definitely makes for an interesting viewing experience, that's for sure. Building the shadows here underneath the scales on his leg there. With this technique, you want to keep the paint wet. You don't want it thin. Using thin paint for this technique doesn't work. You want it pretty thick, but you want the paint to be flowing well. So I use the wet palette just to keep it moist, and then I can work with the other colors and build up different shades and things like that. You can also do it in a here we go, a dry well palette. But I find that in where I paint here up north in Minnesota, my paint dries fast. So using a wet palette has been really nice. As long as you keep the sponge moistened, I usually keep enough water in it where it's just above the you know, it's even with the sponge. That keeps it moist enough moisture there. I find doing it like this or just painting in the shade, the shadows, you have more control of where you want them, and you can manipulate it the way you want. It's a little easier than just painting a shade wash all over the thing. But doing an all-over shade wash or specific using washes works too. I like that technique too. So it just depends on the type of model that you're working on and the end result you want. So many ways of painting. There's no right or wrong way. Little frosted strands here. Just a few plastic strands that got stuck when I primed it. Easily fixed. So just building up the shadows for the musculature here on the legs. Because of the full wash? You're now at a paint wall or what? Yeah, they take time. If you have a hair dryer, you can put it on low setting and just spray it. But that runs the chance of it, depending on how much you put on there. If you put a heavy wash, that can spray all over the place. So it's best just to let it dry. Set it aside and let it dry. Work on something else. I'd let it dry by itself. Just set it aside and grab another model and work on that one. I like to have multiples going on. If you want to have a dark metal instead of doing a very heavy wash, because sometimes it will pool in the shadows and it'll dry and it won't look natural. Do very thin layers, just like when you paint on highlights. Do a thin wash layer, let that dry, and then do another one. Make sure that they're drying in between to get a really nice dark metal. Known oil, do like 3, 4, maybe 5 thin layers. As Duncan says, 2 thin layers. For a dark wash, do 3 to 4. Ah, yeah. Usually by the fourth or the fifth one, because I did the same thing. By the fourth or the fifth wash, it gets really dark and looks really good. Very nice. Paint night. It is paint night. Thursday paint night. Sounds very cool. So, Crimson Blades, did you find what you were looking for up at the store? I guess so. But looky, I got a dragon. I got a nice dragon. I bet you do. What to do with all the new toys? And then that compressor is coming tomorrow in the mail. You'd be ready to go this weekend. Oh my. No, I don't have issues with it. Good. You've had that sitting there for a while. It's time to finish it up. Says the man who has a half painted smog dragon sitting up on the shelf. He will be finished before the end of the year, that's for sure. Very cool. Tomorrow night, I'm going to finish up the AdMech, AdMech Kill Team that I'm working on for a charity. I'm going to get back to these tomorrow and finish them up. Yes. And for some reason, I keep buying more minis. Yes, the terrain and set and the rules and set and that Kill Team starter set is sweet. Very nice. Oh yeah, they're always worth it. Especially if you can get a discount even more on them. Yeah, for 150, isn't it? It's like half the price. And if you can get an online discount, oh, 130, even better. Um, because both armies in that set are really nice, really fun to paint. I have the AdMech ones, and then the Genestealer Cult I have for a commission that I'm going to be working on soon. We can do that. I have no problem with that. Yes. Whenever it's said, it's his voice. And what I like about those sets is there's so many multiple parts, so you can make a wide variety of troops. Wrong brush. Hold on 1 second. I need to close my window. It's starting to get really chilly in here. So, I'm gonna step up for a bit. Be right back. As I move things around, all cluttered up. Alright, I am back. I had to turn on the fan over in the bathroom because of the airbrush fumes still in the room. So let's just flop my hair back and we'll finish up some more area on here. Macho Man. Oh yeah. Sorry, I had to do it. All right, Dreer, have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Talk to you soon. All right, still working through the shading on here. He's turning out really good. I'm really enjoying how he's looking. Just a few more things. Should be able to finish him up tomorrow night. So we're getting close to 8 o'clock. So. Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah. Wonderful conversations. When I was a kid, we had um, a plastic pitcher for our Kool-Aids. Uh-oh. Bad cell phone. Throw it over the dock. Throw it into the harbor. You'll just have to watch it later. Then, unfortunately. Or go get a new cell phone while you're out. Making you spend more money. You need this. No, you need this. All right. Talk to you soon. Oh, yeah, I will. I'll post it in the group, too, of what I've done. So just working my way around the model. These bigger ones do take a little bit longer, but they do look cool. Thankfully, this dragon is just one color. He's a frost one. So. Being a little bit sloppy on some of these areas, but I can fix that up with the net shades and highlights. Got the other wing to do. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and post them in the chat, or if you just want to say hi, go right ahead. So, hi everyone. This is the White Guardian from a recent Kickstarter. It was the Lost Dragons Kickstarter. It was 3D printing the files and printing them up and everything. So very fun models to paint up. I'll be painting more in the coming day, like next week and all the other streams. So different ones. I think there was a total of 25 dragons, maybe? I'm not sure. But they're really fun to paint, quick and easy. Great for any collection if you use it for role-playing games, or just you love dragons and want to collect and have a printer, a 3D printer, or someone who can print them up for you. So, really fun. Really enjoying it. If you like what you see and are not already following the channel, go ahead and click on that follow button. I really appreciate it, and that way you can get updates of when I go on stream nets. I'll be changing my schedule a little bit. Going to add a few more during the day. So if you'd rather watch me paint and during the day, we can do that. So you'll be able to see those. Try not to sneeze on camera here. Besides dragons, I paint a whole lot of wide variety of things. So for role-playing games, Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, even tabletop games, and just in general, just regular painting, I do a wide variety. Also, I am a commission painter, so if you like what you see and would like to commission me to paint something, the information's down below under the commission tab. Like that. There's a link to my website. You can go there and see some of my other work. Also, there's a link to my Facebook page and Twitter, and if you have those and like to follow me there, go ahead and click on those down below and you can see more of my work there. for tomorrow, I'm gonna probably work more on this dragon and some other things. So for my Friday night hobby and paint and chat. So feel free to come on by and check it out. We always have a good time. There. This bit will be hard to see. Just getting the shading underneath the tail here. Heavy shady. Alright, I'm getting close to a stopping point on him, on this guy. Alright. Alright, time to close up the palette, clean off the brushes, and say goodnight. Alright, so here is the finished result of what I was doing tonight. So I can see with that 2-brush blending I can get a lot of really good, there's some problem areas that I kind of rushed and didn't smooth it out very well on the tail. Excuse me, but I can get back in there and finish that up with the next layer of shading. But he's looking pretty cool. Nicey. So, like I said, if you like what you've seen tonight, thank you for joining me. And if you like what you've seen, go ahead and click on that follow button so you can see, so you can be up to date of when I go streaming next. I'll be changing some of my schedule up a bit, doing some during the day and also at night. So keep track of that, and the best way of doing that is to follow me. Also, if you have a Facebook and or a Twitter, my links are down below, and you can click on those and follow me on that and see some of my other work. Alright, thank you very much, and come on back. We'll be back here tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be working more on the Ice Dragon here and some other pieces. So come on by, check it out, and I'll see you later. Bye now.